Hey guys, have you ever wondered what could happen if you stopped making excuses and started making trades instead? But first, we're going to jump over and take a look at what the heck is going on with Bitcoin. As you're aware, Bitcoin halved its rewards last week. And the question we're going to answer really quick is Bitcoin a buy? Now, I'm not personally a buyer of Bitcoin, but I can definitely read the chart because it's like a stock chart. So just be aware. What's going on with Bitcoin is you'll see over here on the weekly chart, looks like we're getting kind of a little topping action going on. We had a shooting star followed by a dark cloud cover here a couple of weeks ago. Where would I expect Bitcoin to go? I would expect a pullback towards this 49, 435 level, and then perhaps a bounce from that. I'll also be looking over here on the daily chart. And again, it's just kind of a zigzaggy type of top that you see here. I would call that a compound head and shoulders type pattern. If we close below the 50, that of course gives us a kind of a free range all the way down to probably 52,000 on Bitcoin. Now, the reason I'm talking about Bitcoin, I know we don't usually talk about Bitcoin and that kind of thing, is when we do get to the stocks and review, we're going to be talking about a couple of the miners and some of those things. And so knowing that Bitcoin is looking a little bit soft right now may influence your trading going forward. So Bitcoin, definitely one of the entities in the news. I wanted to share with you really quickly, one of the reasons why we get hung up is that we don't have a process. And so if you haven't taken a look at the precision entry point routine or the PEP routine, I encourage you take a look at this. I'll put a link down in the bio. It's a course that I put together that shows 3 simple setups and triggers to be able to get into trades. So don't miss the PEP routine, the link to find out more about it because it could actually save your trading. Let's jump into taking a look at what the heck is going on with the indexes. And the indexes did a really interesting sell off, but I'm just wondering if the indexes are really out of the woods yet. Here's what I'm looking at with the SPY representing the S&P. We've had an excellent rally over the last couple of days. One of the things I find very interesting about this rally is, well, a couple of different things. I'm getting such cross signals on this. We came up and did a rally attempt, then fell from the sky. And this was basically on Meta's earnings report, fell from the sky, but then rallied yesterday. We gapped down, but then rallied up. And now I've got a series. I've got a higher low and now at least a higher high here. We don't know where today's going to finish up. And a bullish, this is on the S&P, a bullish, big bullish harami on the weekly charts with the momentum trying to make the curve to come back up. One of the things I've learned over the years, though, is that just because it's trying to make the curve to turn back up, that does not mean that the momentum is shifting back up. As long as I have the weekly momentum pointing down, there's a likelihood that this will just be a rally attempt that will then fail. But the other things I'm looking at is we did break out, it did break structure today, and we are closing back above. Looks like we're going to close back above the 50-day moving average, which could be very positive. The other things that show me that this isn't the conviction is not behind this rally yet. Look at the decreasing volume on the buy days, way below the other part. Russell, continues to be the red-headed stepchild of the market. At the same time, though, showing a very similar type approach that we see with the S&P. It is below its 50-day moving average. However, we are back above the 200-day moving average. Weekly wise, really nice bullish harami. And that is not a bullish engulfing pattern, but it's a very strong pattern. So with this twist, and here's the way I like to do this, Anil, is when I get a break back above the 8-day moving average over here on the daily chart, I then will look to trade off of that 8-day moving average. So that's what I've got going with the Russell. On the NASDAQ, or as represented by the Qs, again, similar type situation in that the volume is actually higher volume on the sell days than the volume on the buy days, but price action has moved back up. Excellent signal here with a bullish Harami, ran up, closed just above the 8, then fell down, and then has jumped back up, hit the 50-day moving average. And so we see if we hammer our way around here, because we are moving into the normal time of year where we get a seasonality of buyers coming into the market to put us into a summer rally type mode. Summer rally usually lasts until mid-August or so. So we could see some move to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at with the NASDAQ, the Russell, and the S&P, or premium AutoPilot members. We jumped on a trade and actually just got on yesterday. We had it in place. We had put it in place on a pullback down here to retest this Harami. We were filled yesterday. We took out our first profit at 10% today. It looks like we have some more great upside. All the momentum indicators on the daily chart has turned back up, moving back up. And again, on the weekly chart, looks like we're getting a similar type of formation. We'll see if we break structure on the momentum on the weekly charts to the move to the upside. Anil, that's what we've got on the indexes. Did your triple screen system give you sales signals on each of the indexes?
Yeah, they are in the last signal I had was on the daily, was the sell signal. And
Okay.
I still don't have a buy signal on the daily.
Okay.
The weekly are still intact. They are not broken.
So the buy signal from the weekly triple screen is still
Correct. It's
A-okay. Okay.
yeah.
So how do you handle a situation like that where your dailies they're out of sync with each other? So how do you trade a situation like that?
No, the daily is just give us the early warning that something has changed. Watch
Okay.
out.
Okay.
And the confirmation, if the weekly confirmation comes either way, on the sell side, if the weekly comes, there is a trouble in paradise.
Okay. I run into that dilemma also because I do the momentum indicators. And
Yep.
and what I find is if my weekly momentum indicators are pointing down, the dailies will lead with a signal, but oftentimes, depending on how far down my weekly indicators are, gives me a hint of what the rebound may be like.
Right on. I'm finding about the same thing with MACD RSI combination.
Okay. That's on my PL from last year. Here's what we've covered. I'm a little bit behind schedule, but that's okay because April has been a tough month for trading. But as you see, we're pulling back up. We're almost up to 10% as of today. Last week we were about 8.5. So I'm really pleased with how well the system has reacted. I love it. Early at the beginning of this week, I was totally flat the market. I had no positions on whatsoever. And now I invested about 25%, right in line with what IBD says to limit your exposure at. We talked about the Bitcoin. And so now let's take a look at some of the other stocks that are out there. This is Coinbase. It's in a really nice uptrend. So it is doing a pullback. I've got a bullish Rami going on for the weekly, and we're breaking back above the 8, the 50. Note though that Coinbase has earnings coming up on the 2nd. So I wouldn't really be jumping onto a trade on this right now. But Coinbase is one that is certainly be on your list for things to watch. CLSK, we've been looking at this in the past. This is one of the miners. It has earnings coming up on the 9th. There's still time. I pulled back to the 8-day moving average right here. I would look at taking a trade on that with a stop slightly below the 50-day moving average, because if it goes below the 50, it shouldn't be going there. So that's what we're looking at. Then let's get to the meat of what we want to talk about is what's propelling this market. Number one, Google. Wow, earnings gap way above to brand new high. So how do I want to look at trading Google? I will show you just in a moment. I'm not going to buy it up here, but I will be taking a look. There's our breakout level. And then halfway in between is also approximately the midsection of the gap up. So that's oftentimes a strongest level of support. So I'll look for a pullback. So we've got a gap up on 75% of all breakouts. You'll get a pullback of some sort. So I like Google. Clearly, big buy volume today, took off like a rocket ship. So that's Google. Going along with Google is look at this crummy chart of Amazon. Well, Amazon broke down this week to pass support and then reversed higher. It also earnings coming up on the 30th. I wouldn't touch it prior to earnings, but I definitely want to keep it on my list because it will probably help us come out of the marketing correction. Then I'm going to save my last one for last, but I asked Anil the question, what is a good potential replacement for NVDA? Because NVDA is a great company, great stock, and all that kind of stuff, but it's long in the tooth as far as being the leader. And Anil brought up this stock and go, so tell us what's going on with Mr. Softy.
Now it's been on a long uptrend if you look at the weekly chart, and on the daily after earnings, it took a beating and looks like it's coming back up. It is on the IBD's stock on the move list today. I'm kind of willing to take a chance on that one. I was in there for a long time, got stopped out recently.
Okay. So would you buy right here?
I'd buy when it comes back around 50. I think it's right now it's below 50, right?
Yeah, just slightly below the 50,
Uh,
just slightly below the 50.
So maybe
And
I'll wait till it comes back above 50.
yeah, one thing, folks, when you have a big gap up like that, remember the gap, this total gap here, and I'll just draw it in real quick from here to about here. We'll draw that. Just okay. That whole range there is a strong level of support with the middle section of it, about the 40, let's say about the 403 level, the strongest level of support, the midsection of that of the gap up. And so would not be surprised to see maybe a little bit of a pullback and then a bounce higher than that. But on a weekly chart, notice you've got a nice hammer. It is also a bullish harami. That's excellent. So yeah, we may base out a little bit here on Neil, and then, but yes, we're definitely worth keeping your eye on. So the last stock I just want to cover for you really quick to answer the question, is Tesla a buy right now? Basically, we don't know, but it's really interesting. I have been intrigued with Tesla. You know that I've done several videos on the YouTube channel, catching Tesla all the way when it was up here, or actually up here, and forecasting that it would drop down to 152. And everybody just kind of laughed at me saying, no way, it's going to do that. And the fact of the matter is yes, it did. Now we get a big rally after earnings. And I've asked the question, by having cheap EVs, will that save Tesla? And let's start over here on the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, it's looking like we're getting a bullish reversal signal. This is called a piercing line, cousin to the bullish engulfing pattern, and almost as powerful. But notice we got right up to the 8-week moving average and then stop. The 8-week moving average is somewhere between the 34 and the 50-day moving average. If I jump over onto the daily chart, as we see over here, what do we have going on? Every time over the past several months that it's gotten up close to the 50-day moving average, the price has rolled over and fallen. You'll see that. Let me see. There was the one here, the one here, the one here, and it's just basically it's fallen, fallen, fallen. So I'm sitting there looking at, okay, what kind of candlestick on the daily chart do I have going on? Well, I've got a shooting star that's a bearish Harami. So I'll be looking next week for a repeat bouncing here because oftentimes after we've set a new low, we'll get a rally attempt. And this was on good buying, the volume was good. Rally attempt. Then the test is the pullback. And it's that pullback that gives you the second bite at the apple that could say, here's the time, it's time to buy Tesla. I will be on the lookout for a pullback into the gap up with the bounce. Let's say 155 to 150 would be a target to the downside to jump on something to the upside with Tesla. Tesla is predicted that it will be back in the good graces of everybody by 2025, but that's still a year and a half away. I'm not buying Tesla yet. It's looking kind of interesting.
Okay, good deal.
What's your triple screen say about Tesla? Is it still showing sell, sell, sell?
Yeah, it sell, sell, sell. It sell on daily is active, and if I look at on the weekly, oh my God, the weekly came way back in January of
Okay.
this. And when the weekly is on, I'll have to wait for the daily first to
Okay.
come as a buy, and then I might be interested.
Excellent. And yeah, here's that first week in January up here. And so that's interesting that the triple screen shifted from the weekly at that point. That's good to
Yeah.
know. Remember to subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified when we do the live stream. I do 3 podcasts every week just to keep people abreast of what's going on in the market. All materials presented are for training purposes. Traders should always paper trade any new method prior to the risk of their own personal capital. Past performance is not an indication or promise of future performance.